Somebody probably see a little girl wandering around and just thinks, let me get her.
Do you have any idea where this girl may be?
I wish I know.
Did he tell you to say that he wasn't there? To say that his mom was there?
Yeah, say it was my mom with you. I said, well, okay. And that's why I said I was in the shower, but she was in her room.
Why lie?
I got scared.
That is Ebony Wiley. On May 16, 2014, Ebony took a little girl she usually watched, whom she referred to as her goddaughter, Felicia Williams, out under the pretext of buying her food and talking to her. A few hours later, Ebony left Felicia under the care of a man she had met only a few days before. The man assured her he could watch Felicia, but his plans were far more sinister than he let on. And that was the last time anyone ever saw sweet little Felicia alive. This is the case of the little girl and killed by her disgusting nanny.
Anything else in that picture?
Oh, Jesus.
What?
I see tracks right here.
What are you talking about?
Right here.
Is that different?
Yeah.
Those drag marks on the surface of the floor that police believe were consistent with a suitcase. It was leaving a tiny little indentation.
May 16, 2014 was a very beautiful day that held a lot of promise for 9-year-old Felicia Williams. It was the first day of summer break, a blank canvas that Felicia couldn't wait to fill with loads of fun and adventures. Her day started like it usually did, with a gentle wake-up call from her mother, followed by a lovingly prepared breakfast that filled her for her upcoming adventure, and then a refreshing bath to get ready for the day. Felicia knew her neighborhood well. It was her playground, a place where she played with other kids her age, and when she was tired of that, she would often go over to her friend's house to continue playing. But Felicia had another person she loved hanging out with, another adult besides her family members who played with her with so much joy. That adult was Ebony Wiley.
Can you tell me how you know this?
The house that they're standing now, and if you look to the left, I used to stay in that house.
Ebony and Felicia had formed a close bond during a time when Ebony lived next door to Felicia's home. To Felicia's parents, Ebony was a trusted presence, someone they had complete faith in. It was a trust that seemed unshakable, a trust that was about to be tested in the worst way possible. On that fateful day, Felicia followed her heart, seeking out Ebony as she usually did. As she kissed her mom goodbye, ready to race toward Ebony's home, her mom held on to her a little longer, completely unaware of why she needed to do that. Eventually, she let go and Felicia ran off, never looking back and never to be seen again.
You guys know her as Felicia. We knew her as Sugar Plum. That was our Sugar Plum.
Felicia Williams and her family lived in East Tampa, Florida. East Tampa is a particularly diverse community that features people from all walks of life. Felicia's family, like most families in East Tampa, grew up there. It was the kind of community where most people knew each other and offered help where they could. Felicia particularly loved the park where she would often go to play with her family and friends. She also loved animals and could never resist petting a dog anytime she came across one. Felicia was described by her family as a sweet little girl. She was a very vibrant child who always had a smile on her face and was sweet to everyone.
She was amazing. She was very a vibrant child, very sweet. She's very loving, very caring, funny.
There was one thing that concerned Felicia's family about her. She was a very loving and trusting child, so she could strike up a conversation with anyone. Kids are often warned about strangers, but unfortunately they are never warned about friends and family, so they don't build any healthy fear that could protect them against loved ones that could hurt them. This rings true in Felicia's case. While she had been taught about stranger danger and what to do in those kinds of situations, she had no defense against someone she trusted, someone her family trusted enough to watch her. And unfortunately for Felicia, the person she trusted the most would be the one to hurt her in the worst possible way.
You struck up a friendship with her?
Yeah, I made up as in my goddaughter.
Did you do that or?
Me. And her mama agreed.
Felicia Williams grew up next door to Ebony Wiley. As Felicia was growing up, Ebony took a special interest in her. She loved her smile and her sweet nature. Felicia could often be found in Ebony's home when she wasn't at home, in school, or in a friend's house. To Felicia, Ebony was an adult who played with her like she was a kid. She could have fun with her like no other, and every day spent with Ebony always felt like an adventure. The more Ebony spent time with Felicia, the more she fell in love with her. Eventually, she decided that she would make Felicia her goddaughter. Ebony took her role as Felicia's godmother grandmother seriously. She never turned her away anytime she came over to her house, even when she showed up unannounced. Felicia would sometimes show up at Ebony's workplace unannounced too, if she didn't find her at home. Ebony had warned Felicia about coming to her workplace as it would get her in trouble with her boss, but Felicia was a child and sometimes forgot the warning and showed up anyway. This bothered Ebony, and she tried to figure out how she could get Felicia to listen to her and to stop visiting her at her workplace. When she met a man a few days before May 14th, Ebony thought she had found her answer. But unbeknownst to her, meeting that man would set in motion a terrible chain of events that would alter the course of her and Felicia's lives forever.
How long have you known Ebony?
I know Ebony, I would say, going on to a week. I was driving and I saw her and I pulled over. I said, "Can I talk to you?"
Granville, who also went by the name Trevor, was a Jamaican immigrant who lived with his mom in an apartment in the Doral Oaks complex in Temple Terrace. When he set his eyes on Ebony, he wasted no time in asking for her number.
I talked to her on the phone later on, and then we hooked up later on.
This total stranger that just kind of plops down. He actually met her while he was driving down the road.
This man, who was a total stranger, had completely captivated Ebony. She had never had someone show her the kind of interest Trevor showed her that day, and didn't even take time to get to know the kind of person she was getting involved with. Over the next couple of days, Ebony and Granville spent a lot of time together, hooking up at his mom's apartment when Ebony was done with work. So when Felicia again showed up unannounced at her workplace on May 14th, Ebony trusted Granville enough to confide in him about the trouble she was having with the little girl. She had no idea that when Granville told her he could help her handle the issue, he had put a very horrific plan in motion, a plan that would take sweet little Felicia away from them forever.
That's when I called my friend.
You called Trevor?
And I said, you remember I was telling you about my godbaby who I want you to meet? He was like, yeah.
At this point, Ebony was frustrated with Felicia and desperately needed help getting through to her, so she contacted Granville.
I was like, I want to go over there and whoop her with a belt, because she's supposed to be in the house.
Although Ebony was very upset with Felicia, Granville managed to talk her down, telling her there was a different way to get through to her.
Like, no, just do it the right way. You know, let's bow her tongue. Talk to her that way.
So after only knowing each other for a few days, Ebony and Granville decided to tackle Felicia's problems together. The solution, to invite her over to Granville's mom's apartment so they could talk to her. But that was not all that happened.
So Trevor came over and picked you up?
From my house. I picked her up at her house.
Did she tell her mom where you were?
But not exactly where we were.
Just
because her mom would trust in me.
And then you drove right from there to
Checkers.
They decided to take Felicia out to get some food before heading back to Granville's place.
I said, you hungry? We want Checkers, right through Checkers, all of the food, we got food. We went back over with my mom's.
Their narratives and their stories matched up almost like a hand in a glove.
According to both Granville and Ebony, they drove to Granville's mom's house at Temple Terrace. But only a few hours after they got to Temple Terrace, things went horribly wrong.
We were there chilling. Of course, me and the girl is gonna get private. You know what I mean?
According to Ebony, she and Granville decided to go into the room together, leaving Felicia alone in the living room. They put in a movie for her so she could be occupied while they were gone.
Before we go in the room and put a movie in,
We watching it, mellow down, we chilling, we go in the room, going to take a shower, in the shower.
While they went in the shower, Felicia was still watching the movie, but by the time they got out, she was gone, or so they claimed.
I said, well, let me go and check on before I lay in this bed. As soon as I opened the door, this girl was not on the couch.
when we came out of that room, man, that little girl was gone.
Felicia had vanished. Ebony panicked, and after looking for her for a while and not finding her, they decided to call the authorities.
Looked on the balcony, looked in the other room, all that. And from there, I went back in the room. I said, this girl is gone.
We there, pondering. She's like, call the cops. Praying. I said, I hope this girl don't put anybody in a problem.
I said, come on, we gotta look for her. We got to look for her.
The authorities called in Felicia's mom to inform her that her daughter was missing. Felicia's mom was shocked because she knew that her daughter had gone somewhere with Ebony. How could she be missing?
When I first got the call from my mom, she was like, Sugar Plum missing. Can you help me find her? I'm like, no, I'm not helping you. She not missing. I know Sugar Plum is not missing. She is on her bike somewhere at a friend's house and she'll be home soon. As the time went by and I was telling my cousin, I'm like, This just don't feel right.
The detectives immediately started an investigation into the disappearance of Felicia Williams. Since Ebony and Granville were the last people to see the little girl, they were both brought in for questioning. Ebony and Granville both cooperated with the officers, narrating what happened. But two things jumped out for the officers. One, Ebony seemed to know very little about Granville.
What do you know about this guy?
And like in what way? Oh, what's his name? What's his last name? How could you come bring this child to someone's house and you really don't know him like that way? Not too much.
The second thing that bothered the officers was both their stories lined up too perfectly, so they tried to poke holes in their stories and see if they'll turn on each other and reveal the truth. But that strategy failed because Ebony insisted Granville was innocent because she had been with him the whole time.
I mean, we couldn't have because I was in the room.
Do you know that for sure?
Do I know it for sure? Yes, sir.
You were with him every second of the time?
Yes.
The officers knew their story was too good to be true. It made very little sense that Felicia would just walk out of that house when she wasn't familiar with the area and didn't know how to get home from there. But no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't crack Ebony or Granville.
You hear the door open or close or unlock?
Do you hear anybody talking? Anything? No? Did she ever talk to you about running away?
Plenty of times.
Do you think that she could have walked home from there?
She probably could have.
Do you have any idea where this girl may be?
I wish I know.
But then Ebony revealed something that made the detectives look at the case a different way.
Did he tell you to say that he wasn't there? To say that his mom was there?
Yeah, say it was my mom with you. I said, well, okay. And that's why I said I was in the shower, she was in her room.
When Ebony was asked why she lied for Granville in the first place, she told the detectives she got scared.
Why lie?
I got scared. I don't want to make it feel like I was an unfit godmother.
As the investigation continued, the authorities were about to discover something that would shock them and send the investigation on a different course.
We was all at my mom's house. Chief of police, and then also a few detective and police officers. They started walking up the sidewalk really fast. Then once he walked in the house, he spoke to my mom. He said, I'm gonna do everything in my power to make sure we find whoever did this. And my mom just broke and fell. And then from there, that's when we knew something bad happened.
A day after Felicia was reported missing, her body was found floating in Tampa Bay. She had no clothes on her and had marks all over her body.
You have a body that is essentially deposited in water. This individual knew that they had done something wrong. They knew that they had left potentially behind trace evidence. The water is going to wash away any kind of physical remnant that's there.
The officers were now racing against time. There wasn't much information gotten from Felicia's body because of the water, and they knew they needed to find whoever hurt her, fast. They went back to Ebony. Once she realized that Felicia hadn't just ran away and someone had hurt her, Ebony's story took off in a new direction. While some things she told officers remained the same, other parts were completely different. Her accounts of what happened after they got to Granville's mom's house changed.
He got in the house, and that's when he got up and was like, Ebony, come out. We went in the kitchen, like, it was me.
Ebony told the officers that she hadn't been with Granville the entire time. She said Granville had told her to go get them some illegal substances.
He said, do you know where to get some from? I was like, yeah. And he was like, okay, you gotta go. I won't stay here. I was like, going with me. He said, oh, well, nah, I don't think she should go because you know you don't got no license. And you know you could have so I think she should stay here.
She went on to tell the officers that when she tried to take Felicia with her, Granville talked her out of it, telling her that it wouldn't be good to have Felicia and the substance in the car at the same time, just in case she was stopped by the authorities. Ebony was so blinded by her feelings for Granville that she left a 9-year-old child with a man she hardly knew. She basically put that little girl in danger.
I came straight back. I ain't going nowhere else. When I got to the gate, I'm calling. I'm like, why ain't I answering the phone? I was like, open up the door. I'm at the door.
When Granville finally picked up the call, he told her he and Felicia had gone to CVS to get some candy and that something went wrong.
He was like, I'm not at the house. I'm at CVS. He said, this little girl at the stove, she done gone.
Ebony raced to CVS to look for Felicia, but she couldn't find her. But then, Granville called her, telling her he was now back and she needed to pick him up. When she got to the house, Ebony noticed something suspicious.
He called me. He was like, where you at? Where you at? I was like, I'm finna leave CVS. She's not up here. He was like, come back to the house and come pick me up from the house. I said, okay. When I was driving up, I look up, he got his shirt off. I just see his pants and bosses, his necklace, his hat.
Ebony said Granville was sweaty and panicking when she got to him. She then told him to calm down, and she was going to go pray about it. But then something rather strange happened. Granville told her not to go into his room, to go to his mom's instead.
I sat down, he panicking. And I was like, just calm down. I said, I'm going to put it in God's hands. He said, those who pray in secretly, he shall reward you openly. He was like, well, go in my mom's room and go and pray. He's like, but you don't got to go in my room, because my room a little bit junky. Go in my mama's closet.
Once the officers got the truth out of Ebony, they started showing her photos of Granville's house after Felicia went missing, hoping she could identify things that were different.
What was in this room?
A suitcase with a little bit clothes here, and it was clothes in the suitcase. Clothes in the suitcase. See, that wasn't like that. All these clothes was in this. You see this pile right here was lined up, and that's how the clothes was.
Granville's room stood out the most, almost as if someone had dumped out the clothes in the suitcase in a hurry. But then Ebony saw something else, something chilling.
Anything else in that picture?
Oh, Jesus.
What?
I see tracks right here.
What are you talking about?
Right here.
Is that different?
Yeah.
There were drag marks on the floor, and it looked like someone had dragged a heavy suitcase across the floor in a hurry. Ebony had also noticed the same suitcase she had seen in his room on that day, but this time it was in the backseat of Granville's car. Suddenly, all the pieces of the puzzle were coming together, and the officers were about to find the final piece. Cell phone records placed Granville in the area where Felicia's body was found, and that's not all. They also found leaf samples on his tires that matched perfectly to leaves only found around the area where the body was disposed of, and more.
There was a very specific type of sand that is associated with this area as well that was found also contained within his car.
The officers had found their killer. Granville Ritchie was arrested and charged with first-degree murder amongst other charges. He was found guilty and given the death penalty. As for Ebony Wiley, she herself faced charges for providing false information to officers. She was also found guilty and spent 6 months in jail. The case of Felicia Williams devastated her family and shocked her community, but they rested easy knowing the prosecutors had gotten justice for Felicia Williams. Hey, thanks for watching. What are your thoughts on this case? Do you know of other similar cases? Let me know in a comment, and before you go, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that bell button. See you next time, and stay safe.